All right. Obviously an important week, just like they are for us. Bringing a really good team into town here and a great challenge for our program. We unpacked the Ball State game and happy with the result, unhappy with the performance. I think fortunate to come away with a 10-point win in a game where we had room to separate earlier. I talked a little bit about this Saturday after the game, but and I talked to the team yesterday. It's the balance between expecting to win and being entitled to win. I think that has an impact over energy, and energy isn't always the spirit to celebrate. It's also the energy of focus and to execute and to be detailed. And I felt like on Saturday we left it to chance. I also think that we weren't the more physical team on the field, and that was hard for us to watch and to own up to as a team on Sunday. But I think the players were in alignment and agreement with that, and are committed to being better. So obviously we shift to this week, which is again a great challenge for us. Texas it's well documented their talent. They're very well coached, and whatever their ranking is, this is one of, if not the best team in the country. So we're excited to be able to compete with them, but really it's about us. It's going to be about Vanderbilt football playing at our highest level, having our best performance of the year, and not doing things that are independent of our identity. Running to win, point limitation defensively, attacking the ball and protecting the ball. Those will be the things that unlock success. I think anytime you're dealing with the level of skill that will be on the field for their offense, it's going to be about how you vice tackle and compress space on the perimeter. Obviously, we have to force them to go the long way, and so we can't allow for explosive touchdowns. In terms of our offense, it's how we find the space and create the space. It's a front five that work together to create movement, and a quarterback and a receiver core that are opportunistic with the space that exists in the secondary. And we'd love nothing more to make this a really ugly game that comes down to time of possession and creating extra opportunities for our offense. So with that, I'm happy to open up for questions.
For you guys, there's college football playoff implications for this game, SEC championship implications. Do you talk to your team about that at all, or just no?
We do. Yeah, we do. I don't spend a lot of time on narratives, but it's the reality of our situation, and we've worked hard to get to this point. And obviously there were things we could have done earlier in the season to strengthen our position, but I think we find ourselves perfectly where we're meant to be. More than anything, with respect to the potential of what this year could come to, is the understanding that we're going to have to play really well from here to the finish line to have a chance at postseason play. So we're not again getting ahead of our skis, but we understand that. And I guess the biggest message I have for our team is, we're learning how to win, and now we're learning how to play big game after big game after big game. And when you're in this position, there is no game that is insignificant. And so what I want the response of the team to be is as we get to game 8 here, and eventually 9, 10, and so on, that I feel a surge of energy with an understanding of, the position we put ourselves in because of the work we've done. And so this isn't a time for us to sit back or to go into cruise control. It's a time for us to push into the possibility of finding higher levels of performance to unlock more success. And that's the message, right? It's to be in these positions and to sustain levels of performance that allow for the playoffs and so forth. It takes just an unrelenting discipline day in, day out to maximize the day and to be at your best. If we're not detailed on Tuesday, how can we be detailed on Saturday, so on and so forth?
Clark, I know y'all are pretty insulated here, but how much has life changed in the last month and a half for you, for this program? And y'all were so good at you got so much work at overcoming adversity. Now you're almost having to overcome success, I guess.
We are insulated, and I think you guys know me well enough to know. And look, I mean, it's not that, I mean, it's all hard. I think it's all hard. This is a challenging, it's a challenging game. It's a challenging sport. I think it challenges us at our core level, and what our kids do every day and the way they commit to each other and commit to the mission is pretty remarkable when it comes down to it. And I think that's what makes, the participants in college football so unique, and so celebrated. We've worked really hard, and part of the initial iterations of this program was meant to insulate because, my experience here in my past was understanding just the amount of negativity that kind of surrounds what's possible at Vanderbilt. And I think to do this at a level that we want to do it, you almost have to kind of be seen as crazy from the outside world, and I think those that dare and those that chase the greatness that comes from doing something really hard are a little bit crazy, and I represent kind of that within me, and I represent that within the spirit of the people that have signed up and committed to moving this program forward. So all that to say, we don't when the winds outside the program were shifting and negative, we were disciplined not to pay attention. Now that they're celebrating and giving us attention, I'm not saying that we don't appreciate that, because we do, but we're certainly not going to give power to it. We still focus on the strength and the resolve and the commitment we have to each other. We understand that any external energy is a manifestation of the internal investment that we put in. And I'm not going to tell you that it's not hard sometimes or that it doesn't take discipline, because it does, but I believe we're pretty hardwired for that. And what we know is we have challenge after challenge after challenge ahead, and it's almost like the beauty of this sport. If you really want to succeed over time, you can't help but reset yourself. And whether it's beating Virginia Tech or Alabama or anybody, it's like you hang on to that moment because it is fleeting. And some of those nights I'll be up really late, because it's just like you're just trying to milk every minute, because as soon as you go to bed and you wake up that it's over and it's kind of released and we move on. And so that's the process that I go through, and then my job is to lead this team into that process with me, and these guys haven't flinched that way. We want more. We don't want this to be done, and so we have a bunch of challenge ahead of us, starting with this weekend. We're going to fight together to take this as far as we can take it.
You have 20 players from Texas on your roster. Does it mean a little bit extra to them?
Well, I would think so. We don't really talk about that specifically, but I have thought about it with respect to, I think anytime you're playing, against a flagship university of a home state, I think that there's something that is personal about that, and so I would imagine those guys are excited. But I think beyond that, I think they're just excited to play together and to represent this program. I believe that, and so I think that supersedes any other emotion that might be introduced with personal histories. It's about what we've kind of been able to create here to this point in the season, and again wanting to go out there and fight for it to move it forward.
Zaylen Wood, is there any shot that he plays?
No, it's not looking good. It just hasn't responded the way that we want it to. It's an ankle. It's not something that is he will recover from it. It's just sometimes these things, particularly in season, become really challenging, and when you have setbacks, it's like you can never get over the hump. We experienced this with DeRicky last year, and he played through it, but never was able to really play to the level that we know he's capable of. And so for us right now, it's important to get Zaylen back to health, and obviously until he can play, we're gonna make every consideration around what that might mean, moving forward for him. But unfortunately, he's not going to be able to play this weekend.
Do you find it more difficult to face teams that are coming off a loss like what Texas had this weekend? Does that provide them any extra motivation or any extra emotion for this game?
I think you can take that and go either way with it. It's like when we've had a tough loss, the game at Missouri. There's a world where that can be taken as heartbreaking, and how do you come back from that? How devastated is the locker room? Or you can take it and say, the guys will be motivated. They're so close. They're going to keep inching towards that breakthrough. And so it's just, it can swing either way. What I know about Texas is that they have a really good team and they're really well coached. And I've got a ton of respect for Sark, and I know he'll have those guys ready. And this is a team that has all the aspirations that they should have with respect to playoffs and national championship, and they were close a year ago. And so my expectation is that they are going to come in here ready to play. And what we need to do in response is not match their energy, but set the tone and dictate the energy on our end, again, to be the best representation of our program we can be.
Coach, are you guys preparing to face 2 quarterbacks this week?
I believe that this is a system on offense that doesn't change dramatically with respect to who's taking the snaps. So we're preparing to defend the system. Obviously, both quarterbacks have played, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see both. They've got injury, history there, and you just never know. But there are subtle differences in the way, the style of the two guys. Both are very talented, and both have represented themselves very well. So certainly we're watching both, and we're talking about both, and we're aware of both. But I don't. I think the offense is the offense. I don't know that it's going to change that dramatically, no matter who's back there.
What about their offensive scheme and their playmakers stand out to you? What makes them difficult to defend?
Well, the speed on the field is it's unique. I think they're, feels like every offensive skill player was somewhere sub 10,500 meter in high school. It's just, that is what it is. So they all have home run potential. They obviously, I think Sark, and this has been true of him every time I've seen him in defending him, he's got a way to use shifts, motions, and formations to create space for those guys. Sometimes those overs can become runaways in man coverage, and we have to be really disciplined with our leverage and our depth, our post depth, and we got to work together. I think the key is that we're never one-on-one in space, that we're always compressing blocks on the perimeter and vicing the ball, like I've said, and understand leverage, because it's just one seam and they can hit the gas and score. So what's been interesting is to see the number of kind of short timing throws and just the quick space they're able to create formationally, and how quickly the quarterback gets the ball out of his hands. They certainly have drop back elements too that extend the overs and the posts and all that kind of stuff. But it's clear that they want to establish rhythm by getting the ball on the perimeter. They have multiple ways of doing that, and when they do it, they're getting it to somebody who's very capable of breaking it. And when you see chunk plays, it feels like they come in waves. I think Sark does a nice job with tempos too, so he can kind of, when he feels like he's getting momentum, he'll kind of push the gas down and try to seize it. And I think that's where we have to be super patient defensively. We've talked about every time that they snap it and they're not in the end zone, that actually is playing into our strategy. So we're trying to force them to snap it over and over again, and this is the way we play. And that is a part of limiting the total number of points they can score, and then it's about, again, our offense sustaining possession of the ball and staying on schedule. And when we've done that this season, no matter who we played against, we've been able to kind of find our way in a competitive game, and more times than not, we found a way to win. So that'll be the challenge again this weekend. It's unique in Texas just because there are so many ways they can get the ball to the end zone in an explosive manner. We're going to have to be really, really on our game.
You guys have shown, I don't even know how many formations, how many different plays. It seems like you've thrown everything at everybody. How much more is left out there in your offensive arsenal that you haven't shown?
Well, I mean, those guys are really creative. So I guess it's just, a matter of how many formations, motions, and, plays exist. I think Tim is constantly creating and studying and kind of finding, I think, the balances. You're always trying to find soft spots in the opponent defense, and so you're looking for formations and motions, not just to run them, but what actually creates a leverage advantage or a numbers advantage. And so we're at our best when you've got kind of a three-pronged rushing attack that forces teams to defend dive, quarterback, pitch, and off that we have movement passes and shot plays that as we sustain drives we can get to, and Tim's been really effective at designing those. So we'll keep going into the archive there and pulling them out. But I'm so happy with what they've been able to do, and just impressed with how the offense has conducted business this year.
When you guys look at other teams, and I'm sure the answer is somewhat both, but how much do you weigh offensive game plan to, like, this is what we really do well, versus, all right, we spotted something here that we can take advantage of?
It's the blend, and this would be true defensively too. I mean, there are some schemes that kind of fit really well with who you are personnel-wise or what your base structure is, offense or defense, and so you can kind of take it and apply it within the realm of what you do. I mean, there are only so many ways to run inside zone or outside zone or pin and pull. There's only so many ways to play cover two. We have access to those, and so if we feel like there's something that creates an advantage, we can certainly find it within our system. Then there are some things that extend outside of the realm of what we do. We'll never be like a 3-3-5 defense. So teams that run that and are successful in running that spend a lot of time in it. That'll not be something that we see on film and we take over. And the same thing offensively. I mean, we're not going to all of a sudden be a pure like gun throw the ball team. We'll introduce elements, and we have enough in our passing game to take some of the things that have worked against the opponent or some of the things that maybe expose a weakness. But it's super important that we stay within our identity, and I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, we're not. If we're chasing this game trying to be something that we're not, we are setting ourselves up, for failure. It's when we've been at our best, we've been, a game control offense. We've been a point limitation defense that's been opportunistic with turnovers, and we've been a special teams group that's flipped the field and won the field position battle. And that's not always the most attractive style of play, but that is what works for us. And so we have to really stay committed to that. And anything that we do this weekend that unlocks success is going to be found within that identity.
Anything else? Thank you.
Well, hopefully you guys stick around for sandwiches. I've been told they're on their way. Thanks, guys.